Alright, so this will be my last video on how to draft English trouser. Now, the reason I want to make this my last video for the year 2025 is because I have shown several videos on drafting trouser. Now, for the new year, I'm going to bring out a new pattern of trouser drafting for professionals who want to, step up their game for the new year. Now, the reason I always update or bring up new methods to trousers is to give more fitting, more comfort, and that perfect finishing on your outfit. So, without wasting much of your time, I want to come down and explain to you in a layman's language how to draft a perfect corporate English trouser. Now, if this video sounds like what you want to learn, kindly watch the very end and don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to my channel. So by the end of this video, I can bet that you will be a professional in drafting English trouser. Even if you're a newbie, beginner or advanced or a pro, tailor or designer, this video is going to give you deeper explanations on what you might not find anywhere on the internet. So my name remains Mr. Redefined. So let's get down to the measurement first. Now, the measurement we are going to use for our drafting for the waist, we're going to use a waist of 40. For the hips, we're going to use a hip of 49. For the laps, we're going to use a laps of 28 and a half. Right? Then for the knee, we are using a knee of 19. For the ankle of 15. Then trouser length 41 and a half. Now, these are the measurements we are going to use. Now, to make it easier for better explanations, the waist measurement will be divided by 4, hip by 4, lap by 2, knee by 2, ankle by 2, and length of trouser, there is no division. Now, because of the pattern of trouser we are going to use in this video, let me give you the simplest explanation. We are going to divide everything by 4. You get? We are going to divide everything by 4 for easier understanding. So let's get to understand what I'm trying to say. So we are dividing the knee by 4. I'll explain, don't worry. Ankle by 4. Now, the lap as well, we are going to divide it by 4, right? So let's see how you can use 4 to divide all your measurements. Now, I know most people will be, trying to skip the video, fast forward it, but I beg you to watch in detail. You will thank me later. Now, before we proceed, let me give you a trick you can use to know if a measurement is correct. In every standard measurement, if you divide your hips by 4, it must be equal to or a bit greater than laps divided by 2. That's hip over 4 plus 2 is equal to or a bit greater than lap measurement divided by 2. In every standard measurement, I said if you divide your hip by 4 plus extra 2, it must be equal to or a bit greater than the laps measurement divided by 2. So let's check if it's correct. Now, the hip here is 49. Over 4 will give us 12 1/4, right? Because 48 is 12, then 1/4 is 1, right? So now the lap is 28 and a half, right? So plus 2 of this is going to give us 14 1/4. That's 14 1/4. Approximately 14 and a half. You get 14 and a half. Now, lap is 28. So 28 divided by 2, 28 and a half equals to 14 1/4. 14.25, right? So this is what I mean. So if you divide it properly, this is what you are going to get. Let me confirm so that I will not make mistakes. So now, The reason I'm trying to explain this to you, 28.5 divided by 2 equals to 14.25, yeah? Then 49 divided by 4 equals 12.25 plus 2 equals 14.25. So you're seeing that the hypothesis or the law or the rule I have stated here is perfectly correct. Now, this can vary. Now, it varies when your measurements are not correct. So what happens when the hip is big, when the lap tends to be bigger? Let's assume lap of 30 was placed here and you are seeing 15 here. What you will do in such case is to increase the hip value to 50 so that it will make sure that it blends or it tallies with this. You get? So when you notice that your lap is 30 or it's bigger in division, like before you start drafting, this is what I do mentally. You might do this mentally or on the board on your book to make sure you're correct. Because see, what's about white designers is that they take their time to cross-check every step they are going. Whites are not better than us, but they are better in taking detailed analysis and observations, taking everything too personal and serious. But some of us here in Nigeria, or some people randomly, they might not go in detail to cross-check. So what makes you a better designer is when you take your time to, arrange your working values so that when drafting, you will not make mistakes. That's why pattern drafting tends to be better than freehand sketch, because in pattern drafting, they will do this at one corner of their pattern book while before they start the drafting proper. So these things will be done. So this is what you should inculcate in your own method. Even if you are using a freehand sketch, you must go through this route to make sure you get a perfect fitting. As long as you are intentional about being a good designer, right? So you must get to know all of this. So now, I said, if you notice that hip lap over 2 is bigger than hip over 4 plus 2, you increase the hip value and then redo it again and make sure that it tallies, right? Because there's every tendency that there will be more chances of making mistakes on the lap, on the hip measurement more than the lap. So a tailor might get the hip value wrong more than while getting the lap value, because lap is easier to measure than the hip, right? Because of you don't know how to ask a customer to stretch his legs or take proper hip value, but the lap is a bit easier to measure than the hip area. So let's get down to the main drafting proper. So don't forget to like this video if you're already getting value from this video. The only thing you will do for me to appreciate my efforts on this channel is to like this video, comment, share, and then subscribe to my channel as well. So let's get down to the main drafting proper. So like I said, this video will be my last video on trouser drafting for the year 2025. So here we have our fabric. The first you will get to know is the front and back. So the shiny part is the front, while the dull part is the back. And then you fold. Now look at how you fold, please watch attentively. Now in folding the trouser, this is where you get the length and fold into 2 and not the width. That area that you have by 60 is where you fold in this form. You fold it in this form, just like this. And then, so once you've gotten it all through this way, you make sure you properly arrange it. In most cases, you might need to cut out the yardage, but then to be on the safer side, once you have the fabric in bulk, I don't advise cutting out. I advise the client or the designer to cut every part from inside the bulk, so all the pieces, all the leftover will be joined together than them being in rough pieces, right? And it will not be useful anymore. So once you have gotten to this stage, you make sure you place your fabric on a stool so that it will not slide out. Now this is the first step. You get the panels properly arranged, and here you iron.
Now, in ironing your fabric, it's very, very important, and it's a must that you must iron your fabric. Now, this fabric ironing you are doing is to remove any wrong one, is to also determine if the fabric is going to stretch. You know, in some fabrics, when you iron them, they tend to stretch, and then it will make the measurements to either reduce, while some fabrics expand after ironing. So in either ways, you need to make sure that you have you iron, so that you know if it's going to stretch or if it's going to shrink. You know, some fabrics expand while some shrink. So if you have iron first, you will now determine if it's shrinking or expanding. By so doing, your measurements you are going to draft will be on the safer side. But if you have drafted first and then you iron and it shrinked, you know, you see that you have, you know, ruined your fitting or your measurement, right? Either in a smaller or a bigger version. So now the first you do is to mark out your baseline. I have made a review of this previously on my channel, this set of rules, so you do well to get it so that you use it to get the perfect baseline here. Because the baselines here must be as short as possible. That's the foundation of your trouser drafting. So if you don't have a straight line, it will really affect the whole trouser panels that you are trying to draft here. So having said that, then you mark out your baseline. So the use of this is to serve as a plumb to determine when the lines are straight at the base and also at the side. So once you're able to form a right angle triangle here, lapping it at the edge of the fabric here, you are good to go. So this is what we have, just like this. And then you keep on extending this, lapping it at the baseline as well. Then you extend the line. By so doing, you must definitely get a straight line at the sides. You get a head, so it helps you to, you know, work it out. So your side lines are very, very important. So you continue marking it out until you get to a certain level. So after you have done this, now the next thing you do now is to mark 2 inches for your trouser hem or folding. So you mark your baseline 2 inches from here. So you mark your baseline 2 inches. So it must be 2 inches, right? Except when you are making for people for sale, you know, you can add 3, so that in case the length of the client that will buy it the longer, you can extend it from the hem. So after you have gotten the length of the trouser, then here you mark the length, which I have to be 41.5, 41.5. So you mark the length this way. So the length will be fully marked. You will not deduct anything. You know, some persons will ask, is the band deducted? No, the band is not deducted. The band is left inside. The band is left that way. You know, you will mark it. I'll show you where how the band is going to be augmented from the length, right? So you mark all through this way. So after you have gotten to this point, now the next you will get is your crotch depth, right? Now, dividing the hip by 4, the formula we do use. So hip by 4 is 49 is 12 1/4. So in this case, I will just use 12. I ignore the 1/4. Now the reason for ignoring it is because it's not up to half. But if it was up to half, I wouldn't have ignored a half value. So I will just take 12, just to give me that more fitting and everything, and then extend the line all through this way. So we have gotten our crotch depth just like this, and the next is going to get our knee line. So how do you get your knee line? Either you measure, or but the best or the easiest way is to measure from the crotch depth to the hem So this gave me 29.5. Now divide the distance into 2 equal parts. So it's going to give us 14 3/4, right? Then you deduct 3 inches from this. So that's you come up by 3. From the crotch depth to the hemline here, 29 and a half, divided into 2. 29 is 14.5. 0.25, 4.5 here is 2.5, 14.75. The minus 3. Now, so minus 3 from this 14.75, that's the standard for every adult. That's going to give us 11.75. So here, you mark 11.75 here, just like this. So you can mark it twice, or you can mark it once. It's important that you mark it twice so that you have your value coming right there. So 11.75, right? So which minus 3 from 14 is 11 now. So 3/4 remains. So 3. So this is 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So now, after you have gotten that point, you now connect the lines all through in this form. So after you have gotten your waistline, crotch depth, knee line, and hemline, in some cases as well, you might get a calf line, but it's not necessary in often cases, right? Now the next you will do here is to apply your real hip, which is 49, 12 1/4 here, 12 1/4 here. So in such cases, if your hip is 49 in drafting, for 12 1/4, so I just make it 12.5, so that it will not shorten. No matter what I do, I cannot shorten more than 49. So, but if your hip is 48, 12, make it 12. Don't add any value. But when your division gives you a fraction that is not up to half, you just make the fraction to be half in drafting, so that when you are closed, you can now use exact of what you have to close. So all the allowances will be left inside, so that you won't have anything to complain about that the fabric did not enter or whatsoever. So here I mark 12.5 in drafting. So here you mark 12.5 and then add extra 2 inches. So these are the small corrections or small adjustments or whatever you do on drafting stage, to give you a perfect result. It's better to cut bigger and then close with the remeasurement than cutting smaller and then you don't have enough fabric to close whatever you have wanted. Then it's now time for us to get the grand line or the midline. So measure the total distance from here to this point. That's 14.5 now. Get the middle. That's 7.25. Indicate it here. 7.25. Pass it across as well. Indicate it here. 7.25. Right? Just like this. Push it across to the hemline. Indicate as well. 7.25. Having done that, then you're going to join this with what they call a disjointed line, because these lines are not a major line. So you just mark lines that are not connected. It's called a disjointed line. So in drafting, these lines are essential, showing a temporary guide to your drafting, right? A disjointed line. You can still mark it straight if you want, but the reason I'm teaching you this in detail is that most of us will likely want to teach their students, and these teachings I'm giving you will help you to have a deep knowledge on what you are doing. So here, let's now start to apply the other values. Now, if you remember, I told us that we are going to divide the lap by 4, kidney by 4, ankle by 4. So let's see how it goes. Now, the lap value we have is 28 and a half. So let's divide by 4. So 28.5 divided by 4 gave us 718. That's 7.125. So roughly 7.2. So let's now see how to apply it. The lap is somewhere here. So at this point, so you're going to mark 7.2, which is exact of what I have here. This is 7.3. So you see that it's corresponding 7.3. So now, in a standard measurement, once your hip over 4 plus 2 is correct, your lap measurement divided by 4 will still enter. So you don't need to bother yourself again about the lap measurement once you have used your hip by 4 plus extra 2. So that's why in most of my videos you will see online drafting, I hardly use the lap in drafting. The hip is what I consider very important because that's the biggest part of the body on the down parts of our body, right? So that's the lap has been now covered. So you don't need to mark the lap anymore. So the lap is embedded inside this hip over 4 plus 2.
That's the simplest trick or answer to that. So don't bother about asking me for the lap. Why didn't I use the lap? This is the answer now. I have shown you the answer. So now for the knee, let's go to the knee. Now the knee is 19. So we're going to divide 19 by 4. So 19 divided by 4 is giving us 4.25. 4.75, that's 4 3/4, right? So here we are going to mark 4 3/4. 4 3/4 on both sides, 4 3/4 here, and mark here as well 4 3/4. So in such case as well, you can still mark at 5. You know, if you are very skeptical about 3/4, you can just mark at 5. Once it's close to 5, you can mark at 5, right? So this is what we have. Now the next we are going to get is the ankle. The ankle is 15. So 15 divided by 4 as well. So 15 divided by 4 will give us 3 3/4. So 375. So here you also mark 3 3/4 like this. You also mark here 3 3/4 as well like this. So this is what we have. You still extend the line all out in this form as well. Extend the line all out in this form as well. So this line extension must be drawn up to 10 inches high this way. So this line extension must be drawn up to 10 inches high. As you can see, the use of this my rule I am using. This rule is going to help me, placing the baseline at the baseline and then have a straight line coming up and making the line to tilt in or tilt out. So this line must be up to 10 inches high. That's when you will now know that from the hem, from the baseline here, from the length of trouser. So once you have gotten to this stage, now the next you get to do is your waist. So the waist measurement we have is waist of 40. So divided by 4 is 10, right? So you push it out this line. Then you get to mark 10, 40 waist. You mark 10 just like this and mark extra 1 inch just this way. Then after which you connect the 1 inch on your waistline from here to your real hip line. So it connects from here to this very point. This is what you have. You see, right? Fine. So after this, the next you will do now is to bring your other sets of rule, which I have told us that these rulers are very important. If you want to be a professional designer, I would recommend you get this. It's very essential that you have it. So you rule all through this way. You rule all through that way. So let me bring the other rule for my point. So in your drafting, you can now measure your zipper point. I will use 7.5 inch for this guy, 7.5 inch for him. So this point will be my zipper point. So you can just make an asterisk at this point, to indicate your vital points to consider. So this is my zipper notch point, So why this is my regular point. So now the next we are going to do here is my connections. Then you bring your hip cuff this way. So place it in this form where you connect your extra 2 inches on the hip to your knee line this way. So you carefully hold it firmly and then you connect all through this way, just like this, right? So after you have done that, you blend it from here, push it to blend from the ankle or the hemline or the calf line, to lap properly. So make sure it's corresponding very well from here. There you blend properly. As you can see how the lines are synchronized. No point should be giving you a sharp edge. So here as well, you blend from here, blend from here. Make sure the lines are perfectly synchronized. Now, most people will be having issues. Where do we bend our rule to go this way? Now, I'll explain to that. Now, if you bend your rule, your tape, your pattern master to come this way, now this line will be bulky at the side of the trouser. I like it to flush, to lap perfectly, but not to curve in too much, like from the curvy part. No. So it doesn't reduce any value you have here. So you just make sure you place in a way. You can even use a straight line or a bit slanted line to connect this. It's even proper, it's even better. I think this is even better. So you make it to be a bit curvy, not too curvy and not too straight as well. So you have gotten that. And then the next is the pocket point. Here is 2.5 inches, 2.5 inches from here. So now you mark your pockets, 2.5 inches there, and then the depth I will use 7.5. So the reason for the 7.5 is to make sure that all my areas are my pocket depth is deep enough to give my customer room for ease, right? So these points I mark asterisks are very essential, that I give a notch there. So they are very essential points. I must give notches at that point, right? Fine. So now, as you can observe, these are the vital points that I need. They're very, very vital. Now, the next you do is to slant your trouser by 0.5. Half an inch, 0.5, right? 0.5. Now, this line as well should not be curvy, also should not be straight. So you can just curve a bit somewhere before the pocket notching is where you're going to blend it or flush it on, somewhere there. So you can either use this or you can still use this as well to do the curve. It's still going to give you the same effect. So this is the perfect way you can use to draft your English trouser. So I will be cutting it out now, and I'll also show you how to cut the back as well. So do well to watch the very end so you can also learn or see how the back panel will be drafted. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to my channel as well. Alright, so now we have got the front panel. So let's now get to cut the back panel as well. So let's cut the back panel as well. So you just have to, bring this panel all out this way again. And then you turn it over. Now the reason to turn it over here, because to accommodate the hip region that is bigger. If you put the hip here will not enter, right? So just get to understand that. And then you are going to give gap of 2 inches at the crotch region and then 2 inches at the waist region as well. These are the areas you have to do some additional markings. So you make sure the trouser as well is straight enough. Don't allow it to tilt or bend one side. It will not be fine. So now, after you have gotten to this stage, you are going to extend this line here straight, but then for perfect results, I do tell people to drop it by half an inch. Like the line should drop down by half an inch from the straight line that you have this way. It should drop down by half an inch. Now the reason is to allow the buttocks or the hip to sit properly so that it doesn't drag or stretch the extensions you have here. So having done that, you are going to add 2 inches all through from here, 2 inches all through, 2 inches all through. You can add as many as you want. You can add as many as you want, 2 inches all through. So once you have gotten to this point, connect the first 2 inches to the second one, just this way. Connect second one to the third one, just like this. Connect third one to the fourth one, this way, and fourth one to the last one. So let me shift the camera closer so you see what I'm doing well on the waist region as well. Right now, you extend the waistline here by 2 inches. At this point, you can do 1.5 or 2, but I like doing 1.5 so that I don't trim much again. Then here you can do 2 inches here, or you can do even 2.5, depends on the customer's size and shape as well. Then connect this to this to this with a perfect curve. So it goes all through this way. It goes all through this way, right? So after you have gotten to this point, remember that this is 2 inches raising from here, 2 inches raising, right? Then the line that you are going to raise, or that you are raising, will tilt up end at the point where your side line came from. So you connect all through this way. So the line here should be a bit curvy and not too straight. Then you go ahead and cut. So this is the back panel. So the things you are seeing coming out here are the components, so which you just need to arrange. This is the pocket facing. So the measurement is for the pocket facing 4 inches width by length of 9 to 11, depends on the customer's pocket depth as well. So you fine tune it. It can be in a square form or it can be in a curvy form, whichever one you deem fit. So you cut from here. Cut from here. So this is it, so you also cut out from here as well. Cut out from here as well. Cut out from here as well. So you cut. So you make sure that you are properly positioned when cutting all of your panels. Don't be in a haste. Because of the tripod, I'm trying to take my perfect point. So you carefully cut this. And then this is my zip fly. I will still trim it. Out. Let me show you the measurements I will use as well. So for the zip fly, the measurement is 3 inches width by length of 3 inches width by length of 10 or 11, right? So this is it. So the zip fly is correct, is perfectly done. Then you now cut the sides. So this is how you gently cut all of this. Now cut the sides. So when you get to this level, you have achieved a whole lot. So you now carefully cut out this. So this is what we have. So those areas you place your highlight points, you notch. For the pockets, you notch, and then for the zip as well, you notch. So just 1/4 inch notch is ideal. So the front and back panel has been cut. So let's continue or complete the component. So don't forget to also drop chalks at the wrong side to indicate where the wrong side of the outfit. Then after this, you also this will serve you for the welt pocket placket. So the measurements we are going to use for that is a width of 3 inches width this way by length of 7 to 8 inches. So like, let's use 8. So you mark 8 inches that way and cut. So this is just it. You know, you cut out your welt pocket placket at once, and then this can serve us for the band. So for the band measurement, you will cut a band of 2.5. Now the length will be the waist circumference divided by 4 by 2 plus extra 7. So the waist is 40, that's 2 is 27 is 27. So this is not enough because here it's not the 2.5. So I will use this for my belt loop. So let's bring from the fabric. So you stretch more from the fabric, and then you cut your panel, you cut your band, you stretch it more, and then you cut your band. It's very important that all these things I'm saying must be done so that you don't have any issues. So please note importantly that in your band cutting, please note you must have a straight line. You must have a new straight baseline. The reason for this is because the band should be as straight as possible. Please note, the band should be as straight as possible. So here you mark 2.5 inches. Since we are making an English trouser, the band measurement is 2.5 of the fabric in cutting. But after cutting, when folding, it will come out to be 1.25. So this is just for cutting explanations, please. Note that most problems we do have on sewing is not on sewing proper, it's on cutting. So if you get your cutting knowledge properly done, you know, you will have lesser stress in sewing. But if your cutting is not properly done, your sewing will always give you an issue or be a challenge for you. So this is it. So this is it. Then you can slit from here. So this will be long enough, or this will be ideal enough. So now the next we're going to cut here will be our belt loop. So the belt loop can come from the leftover pieces, you know, so because I like to economize my material. So you can use it for your leftover pieces. Will give you your perfect belt loop. Bear in mind, the belt loop is 1.5 by 24. So you just try to get a straight line and get your 1.5 by 24. So this is our belt loop now, 1.5 inches width by 24. So the belt loop has been covered. So we are done with the complete drafting. So if you derive value from this video, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Ask your questions in the comment section of this video, and I will go around to, you know, answer anyone that is very, very important, right? So also drop a heart emoji. Tell me where you're watching from, so I will know where my fan base is mostly located. See you on the next one. Bye bye for now.